Doing another quick update video on the progress I've been making. The last video talked a little bit about AirSim, and some people were kind of interested in, what does this all mean? And this video is going to be a little bit of a ramble, but basically what we're trying to do is recreate what we could do in Unity in Unreal. And the reason why we're doing that is so we can do our machine learning in a photorealistic, real-time 3D environment. So I've been getting up to speed with the latest plugins for Unreal. And it just turns out that there are people that are way ahead of me, which is great, that are thinking about the same things. One of the things we wanted to do is, which would be great, is if we could get TensorFlow, create our own models like I did in Unity, and incorporate them into Unreal 4. So I found this fantastic plugin which not only integrates TensorFlow in Unreal 4, but it also integrates two other extremely useful plugins as well, which is Unreal Engine Python. So that's really nice to be able to run Python inside of Unreal and use Python code to obviously communicate with TensorFlow and running the models that we build against the screen or a scene camera. And I've done some of this in Unity in C#. So I'm just showing you this TensorFlow EU4 simply because this plugin essentially installs also the Unreal Engine Python as well as this what they call Socket.io client that I was looking at as well, because what we think we want to do is to communicate with Unreal with an external program and send coordinates or send potentially MIDI events or just about anything we want to do that can't necessarily run inside of Unreal. So I'm still learning about all this, and I would suggest that anybody wants to follow along with what I'm doing is take a look at Unreal for TensorFlow and Python. So, excuse me. So basically, this particular example is a very simple project that you can create in Unreal. It's called the Third Person Project. What I did is I downloaded the content from you have to bear with me here, for the plugins for the entire Unreal TensorFlow setup, which you just saw, and you can see the plugins right here. You essentially just drag and drop these things into a plugin folder, and Unreal, as long as you get the version numbers right, Unreal will load them. So I did that. I got the Unreal plugin, Python, and the TensorFlow and Socket.io all in one dash. So I'll just play this real quick. This cube, this is a blueprint that has a cube in it, but this cube is going to move based off of Python code that's running inside of Unreal. And right now all it does is it just goes up. If I hit play, I can look around You'll see that cube's just kind of going up. Hit escape, stop, and then what we have is we have some logs. And this is inside the code. I'll show you in a minute. I'm actually loading TensorFlow 1.12. Now, one thing to keep in mind with some of this software is that they have an embedded version of TensorFlow and a Python environment, and then you have maybe your external version of TensorFlow and Python installed, which I do. I have actually 1.9, the GPU version of TensorFlow, so I'm learning a little bit more about that and how that's going to work. So I had created a folder in the Unreal project, and it's just this real simple Python class, which is an example that comes with the Unreal Engine Python. So we pull it up, and this is essentially the file. So now all of a sudden we can communicate to Unreal with Python embedded. And embedded means it's running inside of the process of Unreal Engine. Now you will see here that I have some other things with threading. I was experimenting with that as well because I wanted to have a server running in Python that would pull an external process using ZeroMQ. So I was kind of doing things a little bit differently, and the reason why I wanted to do that is that I want to control things from external Python code and push that data into Unreal Engine. Now it looks like what people are doing via this plugin I just showed you, they're kind of doing the opposite. So that is a little learning experience for myself, but I could actually crank up this thread, and you could see it right here, and I had a queue, and this thing was running, and I could connect to it via an external Python app running. So I'm changing my thought process a little bit on what I want to try to do. Anyway, you'll see begin play and end play. These are the same events that you would see inside of a blueprint if you were using a regular Unreal blueprint. Anytime I say Unity, it's most likely going to be Unreal. And then you have a key press. I was playing around with that. So this, every time Unreal can send a tick out to this Python app, and we can actually get the Unreal objects the exact same way you would get them in a blueprint, but you're doing it in Python. And as you can see, they're changing the locations. Now, I'm not interested in writing Python games for Unreal. What I'm interested in is hooking into the engine, again, I'll say it, from external processes. So the next thing I'm working on, like I did in Unity, is grabbing a hold of a camera inside of the 3D environment and taking that camera image and sending it to the a simple TensorFlow model. And let's see here. This example of this plugin, he does exactly that. And he trains the model inside of Unreal. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have an external environment with Jupyter that I'm going to use to, and probably Keras, that I'm going to use to compile and train my models, externally and in a different environment. But in this environment, once I'm done, then I can copy that model over. And if you've seen some of my year ago, so ago videos, YouTube's, that's what I was doing for Unity. So this particular example uses it's kind of like an entry level hello world TensorFlow model called, it's the MNIST problem. And you basically train the neural net to do, numeric, identification. So this is a fantastic example of and a springboard for me, because I can obviously step on the shoulders of giants and get the stuff done what I want to get done, which is obviously going to be any kind of path following, road following AI inside of Unreal. And once we can load those models inside of Unreal, then we could potentially have a game. And but we have super intelligent NPCs that are really looking at the world, as opposed to the way Unreal does it with the EQS system, and you're basically passing coordinates of the enemies in the world. So this is again just a hobby and experimentation thing, but I just thought I'd give you guys an update on where I'm heading. There isn't necessarily any code involved. Going to this, getting Unreal 4 with the right version, obviously pulling this thing down and trying to run these examples, you'll be exactly where I am, and this individual explains everything in super high fidelity and detail. But that's kind of where I'm heading. As I learn more and more about Unreal, there is just all kinds of people doing some fascinating things, and I'm just kind of chasing after them, so I can get up to speed and get my projects done. So this is basically a ramble. I didn't really necessarily talk about AirSim too much, but AirSim essentially, without using TensorFlow internal and without using Python internal, is a way to where you can pull obviously the screen images inside of Unreal and then send them out to your Python code and run your Keras TensorFlow model in an external process. AirSim is primarily for playing around with virtual drones and cars. This particular project is more of it's internal. More of the code runs internal to inside of Unreal, and that's super powerful. And this is probably the way I'm going to be going. So I haven't posted in a while. I was trying to build a C++ version of ZeroMQ plugin for Unreal, so I could have communications between external processes, and now it looks like I don't even have to do that. I can basically write the scripts and run them internally, and if I want to reach out to somebody, to some external process, I can. And but the ultimate goal was obviously to run the models inside of Unreal, and we might get involved with what they call the TensorFlow, the tiny version of TensorFlow, which runs on Internet of Things, to where the models are run super fast, and whatever you can build externally, compile it, integrate it, get it a super fast, super small model, and then load it into Unreal. That's just going to be, icing on the cake. So anyway, big ramble. The main goal, again, finally, is to have a development environment to where we can build uh, all kinds of Keras TensorFlow models, compile them, train them, quantize them, and prep them to where they can be loaded into Unreal, and then have agents inside of Unreal using their own, camera eyes, and deciding, which way they want to move the objects based off of what the model is telling them to do. So super exciting stuff. If you got this far, you're great. If you have any questions, just let me know. But I'm just trying to go as fast as I can to where after this systems integration is done with Unreal, Python, and TensorFlow, then we can make some cool models that do some cool stuff. Other than that, thanks a lot for your time, and thanks for watching.